The Houston Texans have obviously had a turnaround so quick that it has befuddled damn near everybody, especially people that are in the same division that potentially used to be the kings of the division. Watching them go from dumpster, not even fire, just dumpster, to, talk of the town, Super Bowl conversation immediately, has been through the vision of a man who's a Paisan, formerly at New England, now in Houston. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Caserio.
Yeah! Fellas? No, definitely. You guys upgraded from Darius if Seamus is in studio today. No question about it. Holy cow. Big day.
A part of bringing D-Butt to the New England Patriots, obviously, so has a relationship with him now.
And my fellow golf partner as well. So we can talk about that later.
He is golfing. He's getting great. Have you played with him recently or no?
Yeah, we played at the Live event in the Pro-Am. It was myself and Bryson. And DB can play.
Yes.
Very smooth. Very skilled. We had a blast. It was he and I, and we played with Bryson for 9, and then we played with Thomas Peters for another 9. So it was a great day. It was an awesome day. It was great to be around DB. Has embraced golf for somebody that hadn't played it for a long time, but he's just so talented. He's such an athlete, and it was fun to be around him. So, but I mean, he's it's probably a contest. Who's a better athlete, him or Seamus?
Yeah, okay,
He's
yeah,
gotten
of
by
course.
a few pounds, but we'll see.
Of course, yeah. And Seamus and DB, Darius could be a phenomenal WWE superstar.
Absolutely.
If he, just because the way he is built.
Yeah,
he is absolutely stacked. And you're talking about to the athlete point, we've been saying about Darius for the last year or so since he's picked up golf. It's he's going to be a scratch golfer for 8-9 months because of how athletic he is. And this dude, when he comes up to Indianapolis, his travel schedule is crazy during the football season. He's here, then he's in New Jersey, then he's back home, South Florida. That's a far flight for
a lot of movement.
Yeah, and he's committed and he's kicking ass, and we're very grateful and thankful for that entire thing. But when he's here, if it's a nice day at all, show's over, hang out, let's talk about what's happening tomorrow. He's golfing. He's golfing 3-4 times a week.
Oh yeah.
And he's getting very good. He's got Phil Mickelson teaching him shit too. I mean, he's going to be great, and we all understand that.
Is Phil teaching him how to gamble on the golf course too?
Oh, jeez.
Hopefully.
Jeez.
Probably.
I'd assume that DB has pressed a few times in a few different matches. All right, Coach, let's talk about being great at something. And I guess the people that knew you before you got the GM job knew that this was going to happen or assumed this took place. But for us, and we've told you this story, and we're very grateful for you still talking to us after it all went down, the Houston Texans were a dumpster fire. They got no control of what's going on. People want out of there. The things that are happening, this place, just not good. You get called in. Another coach goes away. GM has headphones on during the game to the sideline. So me, Indianapolis Colt former, watching, it's Houston Texans, this place is continuing to be the Houston Texans. Then boom. All of a sudden, you start making plays. You find your culture. D'Amico Ryans comes in. C.J. Stroud becomes a guy. Now you're pulling the trigger on Stephon Diggs. You re-sign Dalton. I mean, it's just everything starts going in the right direction quickly. Everybody assumed that was going to be the case. But now that you sit going into a season where you are Super Bowl contending, Super Bowl conversation team, how does that feel as a person that had never been a GM before? And it's there's no way you knew this was going to happen this quick? Or was this the vision all along, which, would make sense as well for somebody that's had success that you've had?
Yeah, I think anytime you're a part of a team, it's an effort. A lot of people are involved in the process. So, I was fortunate to be put in the position that I was in when I was hired by the Texans. And like anything, it just takes a lot of work and a lot of purposeful effort. And it's just getting the right people with the right mindset in the building and just getting them to perform on a day-to-day basis and establish some level of consistency, establishing a standard of performance and what the expectation is. And it just, in the end, it takes work. It's not, I don't want to try to oversimplify it, Pat, but it's about the work that you put in. And anything over the course of time, it's through consistent habits that you just, and if there's some trial and error, you're going to learn, you're going to figure things out. And there's never a template for when you show up in a building, here's what's going to happen. So you try to apply your training, some of the things that you learned wherever you were. I had a tremendous experience. We've talked about this in New England, learned a lot of great things, was around a lot of good people, saw what good football looked like. So when you walk in a building, you just got to assess, kind of figure out, all right, where do you start? Get started somewhere, and just have repeated actions over the course of time. And it took work to get to a point, but, with the support of ownership and, multiple people in the building, And I'd say the hiring of D'Amico was, certainly a big part of that as well, because I think when we've talked about this, when you're around him, his mindset, his mentality, what the expectation is from the players, the respect that he garners as soon as he walks into the room. So in the end, it's about the players. If the players win games, it's about the coaches putting the players in a position. Quite frankly, my job is to kind of just stay out of the way and just support the head coach and support the people that are in the building and just try to do my part, be a fiduciary, and just be supportive and just be a part of the team effort. So I think that's the mindset that we have here, and that's what we want our players to have. And anybody that comes in the building, that's what we want them to possess.
Massive respect for that. Everybody has their role. They just got to execute mindset, which I assume you did learn up in New England alongside everybody that you worked with. But like having everybody buy in and then also having your concept and idea of what it should look like and who should be in those positions is a talent that not everybody possesses, because some teams go from nowhere to somewhere, and then some people go penthouse to outhouse whenever ideas change and minds change. Yours has gone up, pal, so you should be incredibly proud. And you talk about D'Amico Ryans. I've never been able to be around him as a coach. I've never been on a field to watch him do his thing. Former players, the question is like, are they going to be able to hold players accountable, or are they just going to, brother-in-law everything with the players? Are they going to be able to have a strict regimen that it takes to be successful in the NFL? Attention to details. D'Amico has that in everything, it sounds like. And whenever your roster changes or whenever you get a rookie in there, how quickly is the buy-in to D'Amico? And is D'Amico going to be able to be a guy who's going to be able to maintain this for the next 20 years? And if that's the case, fuck you, because this is supposed to be Indianapolis.
No, we'll just make you a Texans fan. I'm hearing word on the street that you're slowly but surely be converting. So
good idea.
I know we have to go into your old house week 1, so you probably can't pull the ripcord just yet.
All right, watch it, Paisan. Okay, yeah, watch it. Watch it, Paisan. You guys have been incredibly good to us, but no, for real though, like piecing those things together. D'Amico Ryans is the pivotal hire, you think, to really extend the entire operation? And how does he operate with players? And when did you notice that he was going to be a great head coach?
Yeah, he's outstanding. Instant credibility as soon as he walks in the room. And I would just say this, players want to be coached. They want to be held accountable. They want to be held to a standard. And I think what they're looking for is consistency on a day-to-day basis. So coaching is teaching. So are you providing them the information? Are you giving them the resources that they need to be successful? Are you consistent with your words? Are you consistent with your message? Do you fix problems? Do you find solutions? And I would just say, D'Amico was that way as a player. There's a reason that he was a captain when he was a player. And just he's so consistent day to day. Yes. And I would say he has a little bit of that old school mentality where, we're not running a soft program here. So you come here, you work. We're not for everybody. Everybody's not for us, and that's okay. And that's part of the team building is you have to have a discipline with the types of players that you identify. And if you say you have a standard, you want to hold yourself to that standard to be consistent, and hopefully the players that we bring in the building reinforce our messaging. So it all fits together. It all ties together. I can't say enough great things about D'Amico. It's an honor and a joy to work with him on a day-to-day basis. And he absolutely holds the players accountable because we need their best, and he's been in their shoes. And we don't have a lot of rules around here. There's about 2 or 3 rules. It's basically be on time, be a good teammate, and protect the team, which means just make smart decisions. So we're adults. We're going to be treated like adults. There's a standard of behavior and performance that we expect each day. And in the end, it's about the players because they're the ones that are going to win or lose games, and they have to lean on one another. And I think our experience actually in between the Hall of Fame game and the Pittsburgh preseason game where we played the Hall of Fame, we stayed in Cleveland, we trained. It was just us. There was nobody else. So that was an opportunity for the team to kind of be together and be around one another. And in the end, it's not a cliche, but it absolutely matters and it's important. And I think we just want the best version of whoever the person is and just go out there and do your job and execute at a high level, understanding, this league's hard and we're going to run into some bumps in the road. But how we handle that and how we bounce back ultimately is going to determine how successful this program is.
God, sounds like a great building.
Yes, it does.
Sounds like an incredible
great culture.
That really does sound like a
That's key. It's huge, especially the NFL team.
It's also huge. That sounds like a perfect culture, to be clear.
Yeah, that early,
and
too.
Everybody pitches that shit up on the board, too, when they're getting interviewed. Everything that you just said is like...
It's usually garbage, though. They usually don't follow through.
Bingo. That's what I'm saying. So for it to happen as quickly as it did, you should be incredibly pumped and proud. And if you're not... there and you're in the AFC
you're in
South.
that division,
Yeah, okay.
Shit
All right.
show.
Yeah. Let's talk about one of the pivotal parts, though, I think, to this entire thing. You talk about being coached hard. Somebody that's been through a bunch. AJ has a question for you.
Nick, yeah, CJ Stroud obviously played unbelievable last year. You hear when people talk about quarterbacks going from year one to year two and these big jumps that they make. What have you done with CJ? What has he maybe done? Has he looked out to other people around? Because there's not a whole lot of people that have stepped in day one and played as well as he did for you guys. How is he going to make that jump from year one to year two?
Yeah, it's going to kind of go back to what I talked about a little bit earlier. It's going to take work, and it's going to get harder. Like anybody that is in the league year one and has some success, what you have to realize is what happened that previous year, in the end, doesn't have any bearing on that current year. But I'd say where he's probably improved the most is his just leadership and ownership of the offense, of the team. He wants to be great. And going back to holding the people accountable, establishing a standard, I mean, it starts with the quarterback. And then I think the big thing as well is just that position. I mean, you touch the ball in 99.9% of the plays. I mean, other than if you're getting, the Wildcat or something like that. But you have to be a good fiduciary to the team, take care of the football, make smart decisions, and sometimes do simple great. And I think sometimes it's hard for just quarterbacks in general to understand that concept. But mitigating risk is a part of your job, but also understanding there's a balance. You want to take some shots, you want to move the ball down the field, but you want to make the smart play. But, CJ's a great kid. He works really hard. He cares about winning. He cares about football. And I think his relationships with his teammates, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but the defensive side of the ball as well, has continued to grow. So it's going to take all of us. The quarterback is certainly an important position on a team, but he's just one part of the group here, and everybody just has to go out there and focus on the things that they do well, and then, we'll see where we are at the end of the game each week.
Everything that happened at Ohio State, set him up perfectly to be an NFL quarterback.
Yep.
He was mentally, emotionally, physically, everything. Football IQ-wise, with the way they run their offense over there, it's like he was the guy. We saw him, and I assume it happened for you whenever you're scouting, and I think you told the story of him coming in and talking to the entire scouting department and not changing at all from the person you had talked to before to that person to the next person. He knows exactly who he is. So, as a human, you got a chance to learn that then. We just, as football doofuses, we saw him take on Georgia in Georgia.
Yeah, in Atlanta.
In Atlanta, and it was the first 3 snaps, I think. We were standing on the field, and as somebody who had a front row seat to a lot of NFL football, at the position of punter, it's like you watch him move it right in front of you, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's an NFL guy right there. And then you see him just an actual flick of the wrist with where he was putting the ball and off balance and how big he is. It's like, this is the guy. Then they try to send that bullshit out about that
S2
test, all this other shit, and it's like he's just been.
None of that matters in the end. How you play, and I would say just your emotional stability, your emotional control, and the ability to handle ups and downs. I mean, look, everything's not going to be perfect in this league. It's just not designed that way. So how you're able to push through those things. I mean, honestly, that'll probably be the biggest thing for our team. How we measure ourselves is, can we, deal with the ups and downs, understanding that, things went well last year, but what happened last year doesn't necessarily have any bearing on this year. And, we certainly have a big challenge in front of us, including week 1 against Indianapolis. So just take it 1 week at a time. I know it's cliche, but your emotional stability and emotional focus and control ultimately is going to dictate, how much success you have, along with your ability to go out there and play at a high level and execute.
Yeah, he's like a 45-year-old who happens to be the best teammate of all time. He came and did our show live whenever we were in Houston, wearing his teammates' clothing line. Could wear anything onto the show, knows he's going to be on the show. He's like, oh, yeah, this is D Tackle's clothing line. I've never heard of it before. I think he'd do great work. He looked incredibly cool. But
He'll probably have his own clothing line at some point.
I assume he's going to have a lot of shit as we go forward in the marketing world with how great he is and how good of a talker he is. Everything about him screams lead man for the Houston Texans. Now, you strengthen the roster around him, seemingly. Big move this offseason. Man's got a question for you.
Yeah, Nick, one of those moves was bringing in Stephon Diggs, and you just mentioned with D'Amico and the culture you guys are building. Do you kind of go through that with every single guy that you're either trading for or bringing in with free agency? And then with Diggs specifically, how did the 1-year contract decision come to be? Is that, you talking to Diggs about what he wants, whether, he wanted to continue out his contract that he signed with the Bills, or was it more so like, hey, this works best for both of us if we just make this thing a 1-year deal and we just go out there and win a Super Bowl?
I think the big thing is anytime you engage in contract negotiations, it's a two-way street, right? And I think at some point, both sides, a good agreement, a good final resolution is where everybody kind of feels like, all right, it's fair for both sides. So every situation is different. It's case by case. As we approach that one, we worked through it and we felt that was the best way to handle it and approach it. We obviously talked to different people on other teams or other players. Case Keenum, who's here with us, had experience with Steph in Minnesota. I would say since he's been here in March, I mean, he's been great to work with. His attitude, his consistency, his work ethic, his competitiveness, his leadership, his ability to just go out there and focus on his job. And we've talked about this a little bit on the show. When people walk in our building, just be yourself. All right. We're not going to force you to be something that you're not. And what happens somewhere else, in the end, we're the Houston Texans, so we can't worry about what happened in some other locker room and other situation. None of us are in those buildings. All we can do is focus on our team, our situation. And then some of it's organic, like how it evolves and how it develops. And if there's something that needs to be addressed or discussed, then, that's where we just sit and talk and, hey, you know what, a little bit more of this, a little bit less of that. And again, treat them like adults and treat them like professionals. And I think we just try to establish an environment where you're your own person, be who you are. We trust, we believe in who you are. And if there's an issue, we'll address it like adults, and it's just conversational. It's not adversarial, if you will.
Yeah, we're trying to win here. That's all. We all have the same mindset. We're trying to win. Let's enjoy who we are, be who we are, but let's also win. We think this is the better way to go about doing that. And if you keep the open lines of communication, I think that's probably why the success has happened so quickly for you, because those uncomfortable conversations potentially viewed by some people are things that you have obviously not been scared to have. Like, for instance, did you chit-chat with the owner when he shotgunned that beer?
Oh, yeah.
Because he dumped a lot of the beer.
I told him I don't know how to do that, so more power to him.
Yeah, well, he didn't either. A lot of beer was getting dumped out at the top, but I appreciate the effort. I appreciate.
And the hat.
And
Sounds like a really good concert, so I'll leave the shotgunning of beers to other people. That's not my cup of tea. I'll stay away from that.
Maybe one day, though.
Win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, let's not roll it out.
We'll see.
Yeah, you got that parade through Houston in the middle of February after
No parades. We're a long way from any parades taking place. So we're just trying to get on a bus to fly to Indianapolis in a couple weeks. So that's what we're worried about.
Yeah, you better strap it up, too. Speaking of strapping it up, a man who has done that for 15 years in WWE is here. Sheamus has a question for you, Nick Caserio.
Yeah, Nick, come on, man. What sort of attitude is that? You know what I mean? You're going in there. You're going in the first game of the season, man. You got to be thinking about the end game. You know what I mean? You got to think where you're going. You know what I mean? You got to be pumping that up, and that goal obviously is a Super Bowl, right? That has to be it.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I think everybody has goals, and in the end, everybody plays to accomplish something, right? So when you get into WWE, your goal is to win a Universal Championship. So that's the goal. So how do you get to that
gone,
point?
That's gone now, Nick. That's gone.
Or whatever it's called. So,
they got rid of that Universal thing. It's the WWE World Heavyweight
whatever it is.
Championship.
No. But in the end,
Go Hawk.
you have to focus on what's in front of you, and it's a combination of short term. And, look, everybody that plays competitive sports, they want to, ultimately, they have a goal in mind. And in each sport, there can only be one winner. So it just takes a series of events over time. But I would say if you have those goals, what are you doing in the interim to get you to that point? So that's where you got to focus on, all right, that might be the big picture, but did we have a good practice? Can we make the corrections? Do we come back the next day? Are we consistent with our habits? Are we consistent with our mindset? Can we go out there and have the right work ethic and do the right things that are conducive to winning? So, I mean, you get into sports to compete, and ultimately everybody has the same goal. But in the end of the year, there's only one team that can do it. So, we'll all be judged on how we perform, and it's going to come down to how well we execute on 17 Sundays. And if we put ourselves in a position, then ultimately the rest will take care of itself.
Let's talk about putting yourselves in the position. Great question, Sheamus. Let's talk about putting yourselves in that position. Joint practice, right, today? I think it was the last one.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was awesome. Yeah.
So this is going to be a combo question here. At this stage of training camp preseason, third preseason games kick off tonight. Colts playing starters first quarter and a half. Bengals are not. I believe Kansas City and Chicago both not playing their starters. Yep. How do you view the third preseason game? How many, I don't want to say like spots are available, but like these joint practices and then this third preseason game, very important to some of the people down there in Houston right now?
Yeah, no, it all makes a difference in the end. You're probably talking about realistically over the course of the preseason as you get closer to the last 6 or 8 spots. So how are you going to allocate X number of spots, the 53 on the roster? And then we're very proactive with the players on the practice squad as well, because at any week, they could be available to play. So we just got to make sure we're giving the players a good opportunity for a good evaluation. Today was actually the last training camp practice, if you will. Training camp, is over. We'll play the preseason game against the Rams. It's actually our fourth game because we pull 3.5 because we got lightninged out of the second half of the Hall of Fame game. But
right.
Bummer.
We got really good work with the Rams done today. I think there was 85, 90 plays on each side of the ball so we'll go back and evaluate that. And Sean and his group are really good to work with. So, and then we'll figure out what do we need to get done in the game. And then ultimately we'll flip the page and what do we have to do to get ready for week 1 against the Colts. But every opportunity you have to go on a field and work with another group, it's invaluable. And we were able to get a lot accomplished today in a short period of time. So we're glad that the Rams are here.
How much are you talking to D'Amico about, like, hey, obviously roster construction, but also like, hey, these 10 guys, these 11, 12 guys is who we need to like see some from in practice or in the preseason game? Is that a conversation that's taking place?
Absolutely, Pat. I mean, we talk about the team probably every day, and you're mixing and matching. You probably have less questions. There's the guys that you have less questions about. It's like the draft. Like once you're done, put that player to bed and move on to the next one. So just make sure that we make good, sound decisions and have enough information where we can make an educated decision. So absolute matter of fact, we talked about, what's today? Wednesday, Thursday. We talked about it Monday, talked about it Tuesday. We kind of talked about it. All right, what do we need to do for the game? All right, this group, maybe this group doesn't play. We're going to see a little bit more of this group. And then the hay's in the barn to some degree. So we're going to take all the information. We'll have to cut the roster to 53 on Tuesday. We'll form the practice squads. And then we'll have a couple practices and everybody get the long bye, which will be good. Kind of everybody get away. Everybody's put a lot of work. We've been in camp since July 16th or 17th, because of the Hall of Fame game. So our players done a great job. They've shown up every day with the right mindset. So it'd be good to kind of get through Saturday, another opportunity for some players, cut the team, and then get ready to go for your Colts.
Hey, good luck out there. You're going to need it. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
They got a good team.
Coach, not Coach, Caserio. The reports out of the joint practice yesterday with Cincinnati, we got some room. We got some room to grow. This is an opportunity. This is not a bad thing. We were ridiculed and mocked by quotes from the other team and from the media. This is a builder. Everybody's going to be ready whenever the season starts.
Amen.
Okay?
Hope so.
Everybody. Do you keep track of anything going on in other places? You have to, I guess, right? Don't you?
To a degree. Like our pro scouting staff, they'll go through kind of the entire league. They'll watch. We have 3 or 4 scouts. They have X number of teams where they're watching players who may get released. So looking at that cohort of players relative to maybe some of our players. And then from my perspective, I've actually worked on in the preseason the first 3 opponents. So go through Indy, go through Chicago, go through Minnesota. It's just part of my process so that once training camp is over, we kind of understand what those teams, what their dynamics are, who's on the roster. So everybody is working on different things at different points. So we got a great group, but those conversations are absolutely taking place. And it's all about just being prepared, putting the work in, and then putting ourselves in a position where we give our players the best opportunity for success, on Sundays.
Yeah, I saw J.J. Watt walking around. What are we?
Uh-oh.
What are we doing?
He
was in Pittsburgh, too.
I saw JJ
Hey,
walking around. So when you have him on the show, I'm sure you can ask him what his plans are.
That was so Italian of you. Did you hear the way he answered that?
Yeah, he knows what he's
I saw
doing.
nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. You can ask him if he wants to talk about it. Have a great season.
Forget about it.
Hey, exactly. Hey, we can't thank you enough for the time today, man. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll see you this season, hopefully, a bunch.
Always great to be on with you. Really appreciate you having us, Pat.
No problem, man. We'll tell Seamus that you don't follow the product and don't know the title. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Nick Caserio. He's a good dude. He's been very good to our show.